seniors will now come to order. As we are still waiting to get a quorum, we are going to go at ease. Thank you. One time is enough, isn't it? The Committee on Family, Children, and Seniors is reconvening. It's fine, we're reconvening, and when they get here, it'll be fine. It happens, it's a busy Tuesday. Tuesdays are busy, and so what we'll find is we'll have to try to carve out some extra time. I actually take the stairs from 6 to 5 and then take the elevator, because there's hardly ever anybody at 5, but then I'm only one floor, so I get it. But we do have our presenters that are ready to go, and so we like to be mindful of the time. Thank you all for being here today and getting in, and we're gonna get it done. All right, so with that, I would like to take a motion. A Representative Coffia approves the minutes of January 31st. Very good. And so with that, we have to call the roll. That's right. And so with that, we are about to call the roll. Madam Clerk.
Chair Young.
Present.
Representatives Coffia.
Present.
Glanville.
Present.
Arbit. Edwards.
Present.
McDonald.
Present.
Wozniak.
Here.
Fox.
Yep.
Frisky.
Here.
Johnson.
Present.
Madam Clerk, you have a quorum.
All right. She was just added. Do we have a letter? Oh, huh? The rep is? Wait, what? Okay. Okay, everybody take a breath. It has been a busy, busy Tuesday already. I happen to have committee after committee after committee. And so that's why we signed up for the work, though. We didn't get to pick our schedules. We just said, we're here to serve the great residents of the state of Michigan. And so with that, we're going to have a couple of presentations on today. I'm excited about the guest that we have today. We have a community leader, someone who has been in the trenches doing the work, working with some of our most vulnerable residents, making certain that they get the assistance that they need. And so we'll have a presentation from Reverend Roz Boyer from the Brightmoor Food Pantry, and then we'll go into the department, our Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and they're going to give us some information on the SNAP program and other things that they're doing. And so with that, I know that Reverend Roz should be on the Zoom. And so whoever that person is running our Zoom, there he is, I see him. Oh, there she is. Wonderful. Let's do mic check. Can you hear us, Reverend Roz?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful. So I
Great,
went
great.
ahead, and I didn't do a quick background on who you are because you're going to do that, but I've been very fortunate to have known and worked with you for a number of years in the
Yes.
Brightmoor community in the city of Detroit. And I thought it was important for you to just kind of come and share the work that you all do and then to, let us know about the potential concerns that you have with the federal government, not the state of Michigan. Let's just go ahead and be clear about that, but the feds, rolling back to the pre-COVID amounts for our SNAP benefits in particular. So with that, the floor is yours, Reverend Roz.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you all for allowing me to be here. My name is Reverend Rosalind Bouye, and I have the distinct honor of being a frontline provider. I am the executive director of the Brightmoor Connection Food Pantry. The community of Brightmoor sits within the city of Detroit, as many of you well know. We sit in the lower northwest corner of Detroit, and Brightmoor has the distinct honor of being the third poorest community in the nation. Brightmoor has the highest population of water shutoffs. We've had the highest population, quite naturally, it would stand to reason, of COVID-19 cases. And pre-COVID pandemic, we had also inherited the highest population of hepatitis A cases. Brightmoor is a extremely marginalized community that sits well below 200% poverty level. And the Brightmoor Connection Food Pantry is a client choice model pantry. We see over 1,700 households, and families come to the pantry and they shop at the pantry monthly. They come as it's just like a grocery store. They get to pick their own items. It offers dignity and self-determination. We also, in this pantry, folks will leave with over 120 pounds of food, along with other benefits that they're able to receive at the pantry. We have a clothing closet. Originally, the clothing closet was instituted just because there was a need for generally used clothes, but because of the fact that we sit in the District 1, which is the largest, has been the largest population of water shutoffs, families were in need of clothes because they did not have water. We also have a water station where folks can get water who are still experiencing water insecurity. We also provide nutritional eating classes. We have a nutritionist on staff that assists our families with learning how to prepare meals around the items we have in the pantry, but also around items that they purchase, and recognizing that most of our families will never purchase certain items that most of us consider to be normal meals, but more so what we call earth foods, right? Grains, beans, and things of that nature. We also have wellness classes. The wellness classes are yoga and aromatherapy and teas and tinctures. And the purpose of these classes, again, is to address the needs in our community, because when you sit in a community that's extremely marginalized, well below poverty level, there's a great amount of stress in the bodies of the parents and the caregivers. And so the purpose of the wellness classes seeks to address the stress in the bodies of the parents, because we know the residual impact of the stress runs down to the children. We also provide and offer local farm-to-table produce that we purchase from the local farmers in community, along with purchasing very intentionally honey, because the goal is to shift our consciousness, moving from sugary fructose to a more stable substance. Because at the end of the day, we know that every dollar in community counts. We also do a lot of advocacy and organizing at the pantry. We do housing affordability organizing. We recognize because there is no housing, no affordable housing, as well, you all know, in community throughout the nation. We know that to be truth everywhere, but most especially in most marginalized communities that are highly impacted. And we know that as with all of this, that the cost of food has gone up. The pantry, historically, I order food, I purchase, I pre-plan, I meal plan for the families. In other words, someone can come to the pantry and they're going to get everything they need for a pot of spaghetti, everything they need for a pot of chili. They'll get all their breakfast items. But the cost of food has gone up exponentially, right? We've seen an increase of over 25% in families coming into the pantry. And the reason being is because pre-pandemic era costs have food insecurity has risen. And not only that, we also see that the cost of food, as everyone's experiencing, has gone up. And because of the cost of food going up, because of the cost of heating, water, lights for those who have these items, right? These are what we call luxuries in community, has gone up. Because of not only just utility rates going up, but just basic everyday needs. And so one of the quickest things that people do to cut their budget is to cut back on the food. It's a lot cheaper to go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal than it is to purchase at the grocery store. Fresh produce, and although we do supply fresh produce to our families, we cannot feed anyone for the entire month. Our goal is to at least take 6 meals out of someone's budget. If we can do that, then that hopefully will open up a little pathway for folks to be able to do something else with that money. And even with all that, with the cost of food prices, cost of food right now, and our families cannot afford to purchase and to feed their families. Not to mention, and I know pre-pandemic era, we saw one set of realities, and then the pandemic hit. And I'm speaking about COVID, the COVID pandemic, right? Our families experienced extreme food insecurity. Food scarcity came into play because in the community of Brightmoor, originally folks were told to go home, purchase food, stock up. That is not a reality nor a feasibility in a marginalized community. You cannot stock up on food for 2 months, 2 weeks, much less 2 weeks. But right now, what we're seeing, although we would like to believe is gone back to pre-pandemic era, it has not. Our families are experiencing extreme anxiety and stress. And it's not just in the Brightmoor community. I want to make sure I emphasize that. While I see it prevalent in our community because that is where I'm at, I've spoken to my colleagues and folks who I engage with, my collaborative partners throughout the state, and everyone is saying the same thing. Our families are in dire need. They don't have the money to be able to maintain, and now that the cost of food has gone up, that's only heightened the anxiety. It already was percolating, right? The pot was already percolating, but now we're seeing it boil over, especially when we start talking about SNAP ending, for pre-pandemic SNAP dollars ending, but also with the Medicaid ending, right? Our families are extremely terrified as to what they'll be able to do. In this moment right now, our families are experiencing not only anxiety and stress, but it's the fear of losing children, right? It does not seem like something that you would attach or equate to that, but it most assuredly is real in the lives of our families who have already lost their children because of water shutoffs through no fault of their own. We have a number of families who have lost children because landlords have turned the water off purposely so that they can be able to take over the home so they can get market value rates for renting and selling the houses. And in doing that, families are struggling to stay above board as it is, just with these costs. And now when you start talking about cutting SNAP benefits, and when we start talking about having less money available, because once you're taken off of Medicaid, once you've been reduced from $700 to $200, right, that makes a huge difference in how your money is going to go. And I know oftentimes we talk about people living within the AMI of the city of Detroit, which is unrealistic AMI because it does not reflect the true average median income of our families in the city of Detroit that are sit outside of the 7.2 square miles of downtown Detroit. I just came on today. I wanted to make sure that you were aware of the need and and the anxiety and the stress that is placed in our families, but also recognizing that while this is a federal issue, this was a federal decision. This legislative body, you good people, have the opportunity to put a stopgap there if you so see fit. Other states have done this. They've done something to put something in legislation in place to absorb the impact, excuse me, of the reduction of these SNAP benefits. And that's what I'm asking you to do. I would ask you to understand what it's like for households who are, and I need you to, and excuse me, let me back up and let me make something extremely clear. These are not folks who are not working, right? These are people who hold 2 and 3 jobs because they're not making family earning livable wages. But then not only are they not making family earning livable wages, the wages that they are making are not being considered are being over considered when it comes to being able to stay on SNAP, because we know that at the end of the day, a few dollars can be the difference between you keeping your SNAP benefits and losing your SNAP benefits, right? No one, and I need to emphasize this, no one plans, their retirement plan is ever in the trajectory of, I'm going to make sure I end up being able to find food at a food pantry. Families don't do this intentionally. No one wants to be in a food pantry. No one wants to have to come to a food pantry. Most of the people that I see every day say to me constantly, I'm just going to pick up food just when I need it. I'm not going to come on a regular basis. I don't want to take food from someone else. So this is not something, although we've heard the narrative time and time again that people will take advantage of and abuse the system. That is the farthest from the truth. I've been doing this for well over 15 years now. And I've come to know and learn the humility and the humanity of human beings, right? No one is intentionally there because they want to be. It is out of need. And there's an abundance of caution that I would ask that we don't add more to our roles. I thank you for the opportunity to share this with you. I thank you for the opportunity for you to consider the impact it's making on the lives of the families that we see every day. Those who are fighting just to stay above board, those who are seeking a better way of life for their families, right? Who go to work every day. A lot of our families, the parents, they're living in the cars. I need to say that to you because there is no affordable housing. They're working. I have a couple of families who they're nurses. They work in the hospitals. They're trying to finish up degrees, but they do not have the means to be able to purchase clean, affordable food, right? Safe, healthy food. And in this moment, there is a cry for help. And I would ask that you would incline your ear to hear them. That's my request today. Yes. Thank you so much for allowing me to present.
Thank you so much for carving out some time. We know you're busy, but it was important to me to have somebody who's boots on the ground, who's doing this work every day. I show up every blue moon to say, okay, how can I be helpful, Reverend Rouse? What can
Yes,
I
you
do?
do. Yes, you
But
do.
you're there. And so you're the one who's working with the clients, and you're the one who's hearing the anxiety, and you're the one that's trying to reassure that we're going to continue to help. And
Yes.
I know that the department is listening, but before we get to their presentation, I'd like to see if any of my colleagues have questions. We have, okay. Okay, all right. Representative Wozniak, and then,
Thank you, Madam Chair. Reverend, you mentioned water shutoffs a couple times. My understanding is the water shutoff program is going to end soon. Have you heard that? And how's that going to affect your community?
Let me be extremely transparent with you. While there was a moratorium in place, there has been a moratorium in place, but in the community of Brightmoor, families have still been shut off, as I was sharing, through various means, right, of what we call in community land grabbing, right? Because landlords have been seeking to move families out of their dwellings so that they could take the property back over to make it put on for market value. now with the moratorium that had been in place coming to an end, there is extreme terror because once again, families will now be without water. And the fact that the assumption that the arrearages will be taken care of with the DWSD new water plan, right? The Lifeline plan, which I need to say in this space, that is just a form of water rationing, right? That's what that boils down to. The folks are only allowed, I believe, is 4,600 gallons of water, which is not enough for a household of 4 with small children, because we know children flush the toilet every day, all day long. They run water. There's a need for cooking, water for cooking. But then also in communities like Brightmoor, because this is a community that has multiple dwelling homes, right? In other words, there's multiple families in the home. Families look out, folks look out for neighbors. So if your water's shut off, you're able to go to the next door neighbor's house and get water. What this water rationing, this Lifeline plan is going to do is going to cause people to, they'll monitor, they will be less gracious and considerate and compassionate of each other. So in other words, people will have to, they will no longer be assisting each other and allowing family members to come over and take baths whose water is shut off. They'll have to ration their own water so as not to get cut off. This is going to be extremely hard. Brightmoor Connection raised over $186,000 during the pandemic so that we could pay to get people's water back on, so that we could get people's children back, because you lose your children when your water's shut off. And the reality of it is most of the time it's through no fault of the parents, the water being shut off. So I thank you for asking your question. That is a big terror. That's seeking. That is the evil that's behind the door, right? That's what's lurking in the dark for our families. So when you talk about SNAP being cut and now the water moratorium being removed, and we recognize that all of that will play in to how families will be greatly impacted. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you for that answer, and thank you for all the work that you do there, Reverend. Thank you very much.
Thank you so kindly.
Yeah, that's so important because we can't look at these issues in silos. They all go together. And so, I'm committed to working with you. We got to work with the administration, because the one thing is we can introduce new plans, but we also need to know, well, how is this plan working? And who better to work with than somebody like you to let us know exactly how it's working, boots on the ground. So with that, we have Representative McDonald. Oh, no, I think it was Representative Edwards was next. Representative Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just thank you to the presenter. You mentioned that your organization receives support from local farmers. Is that enough support to supplement a decrease in SNAP benefits in case that was to happen? Hopefully it doesn't, but in case it does, is that the support you get from local farmers? Is it enough to support that?
Most assuredly, no, it's not. It definitely would not supplement it. And let me be clear, we don't receive support from local farmers. We purchase from local farmers through grants, right? Through grant money. So no, it definitely would not be a supplement to it, because as I said, we can only supply enough food. The goal is to supply 6 meals, to take 6 meals out of someone's budget, right? When we start talking about supplementing a reduction in SNAP benefits, that's an entirely different enigma altogether. We do not have the capacity to do that. Let me give you a point or something for a point of reference. This might help you understand. Normally, I spend about $9,000 to $11,000 a month on purchasing, right? And I purchase from the Community Feeding of America, Community Food Bank Gleaners. But pre-pandemic, it went to $40,000 in 1 week. I'm almost back up to that now. And that's what we're seeing. So yeah, it's extremely, there's a huge gulf in between where folks are at now, where they'll end up at, and the middle piece is the SNAP. And so that makes the difference. That is the bridge that we keep people out of the water from.
Thank you for pouring that into the atmosphere.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Representative Edwards. Next, we'll have Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I commend you for being one of the faith-based groups helping your community and setting such a good example. I just wanted to know, how many other churches are helping with this, and even from suburban Detroit?
So I can't speak for other churches, and I need to also make sure I'm clear in this space. We are a nonprofit. We're a C3. Brightmoor Connection is a C3. I pastor Trinity St. Mark's United Church of Christ in Southwest Detroit. We are a collaborative effort. We're a consortium of seven organizations and 3 churches. Client Choice Model Pantries, which is what we are. There are only 2 other Client Choice Model Pantries in the state, unless something has changed more recently than last week that I'm unaware of. But as a Client Choice Model, because Client Choice Model Pantries, you come in, you shop for yourself, and you leave with greater poundage, right? So we're a poundage pantry. That's up against what most people are familiar with, and I think this would be a more familiar scenario for you, is when you go to a church and you receive food in a box or in a bag that's prepackaged, right? That's what most people presume, or that's what we kind of get in our mind when we think of a food pantry. But the model of a Client Choice, the Client Choice Model Pantry is when families come in and shop and they have choices. There's a larger quantity. We make sure we stock meat in the pantry, and it's a wraparound service, right? The goal is to make sure we just don't meet the need of food, because although we recognize food insecurity is real, that's a band-aid to the problem. So we try to address the greater issues, right? Circling around it. One of the greater issues which is what's brought me here today, is SNAP. If SNAP is cut and folks will lose their benefits as was expected, along with the expectation, based on what we've been told, that 400,000 will be taken off of Medicaid, or that, let me put it in the correct frame the narrative correctly, that out of these 400,000, they have the opportunity to reapply within a certain amount of time. But you have to remember something. This is a community, once again, like most disinherited and disenfranchised communities, who have very little access to internet. Our phones we have, but once again, most folks in community do not have the bandwidth on their phone. But not only that, the bandwidth capacity to navigate through the system to reapply for Medicaid benefits. And I'm bringing that into this space, and would like to lay this at your feet as well, because when you start talking about Medicaid being removed, SNAP being removed, utility rates going up, cost of gas, and just understanding that these are communities well below poverty level. And now when you ask me how many are there, so to answer your question, when it comes to Client Choice Models, there's only 3 that I know of within the state, and one is further up north, and then we have one in Macomb, and then the Brightmoor Connection Pantry. But then when we start talking about the smaller pantries, the church pantries, right, which is what I believe you're speaking of, with the smaller church pantries, a lot of them have closed up, could not survive the pandemic after the the USDA stopped putting a lot of food out. Because remember, during the pandemic, we sent a lot of food out. There was a lot of food available. United States government, we made a lot of food available with the understanding, we all knew that at some point there was going to be food scarcity. We are at that stage now with food scarcity from the pantries. In other words, even food pantries, even when you're purchasing versus having Forgotten Harvest, which is donated, captured food, right? There's a scarcity of food available for us to purchase. When you multiply that against the fact that there's a lack of food for us to purchase, who have the purchasing dollars through grants, then, and you magnify that against SNAP being reduced, families you're talking about people having nowhere to go.
All right,
So,
Reverend Ross.
Yeah.
I know, passion. Thank you.
Yes.
We have time for one more question, because we got to get to our next presenter. Representative Glanville?
Yes, thank you. And I'm happy to report we have at least one, maybe two client choice food pantries in my area of the state, Grand Rapids. And I've been trying to connect, to find all the websites and put them in my list of notes here while you're talking. So thank you so much for that work and hoping we can expand that network of people. My question was around my question was around another program I'm familiar with called Double Up Food Bucks. And just wondering if that, how that ties into your program, or if you know much about that, and how we might, because that, supports with the SNAP benefits and, those things too. It's another resource. So just wondering how that might fit in the picture with you, if you're familiar with
We
it.
have thank you. Thank you so much. Great question. And yes, there is one up there in Grand Rapids. Double Up Food Bucks, you have to be an EBT vendor, right? And so we've applied for EBT status as a retail vendor, but then also what we've done is partner with local farmers. And because local farmers are able to secure the vendor status from EBT, we're able to allow our families to go to them. They come to us, set up. This is aside from us giving the food that we purchase through the grant, but then we also make it available where the farmers can come, set up their stands at the pantry, and families are able to purchase and using Double Up Food Bucks. Again, that's only possible if you have the SNAP dollars.
Thank you.
Well, okay. Well, you've given us a lot to chew on. We're so appreciative of you taking the time to visit with us on today. I hope you are able to stick around and listen. Is she able to stick around and listen? I know we'll have a PowerPoint presentation from the department, but you're welcome to stick around.
Thank you, State Rep. Thank you. And also I want to thank you for all that you've done for our community and communities throughout the city of Detroit. Thank you so much. And I thank you all of you for allowing me to come and present and hearing us out.
All right, bless you. Thank you. All right, next up, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Come on down. Let's see who all is here. So I understand we have Dwayne Haywood, the Senior Deputy Director of the Economic Stability Administration in the department. Oh, is she like? We have Amy Hudley. Okay, very good. We're glad to see you here. Economic Stability Administration Deputy Director for a presentation on the SNAP program. So look here, guys, no pressure. Do a quick woosah moment. But no, because we understand, look, you all do amazing work, and we're grateful to have you, and we just want to understand a little bit more. So take your time, and thank you for being here.
But certainly it's an honor to be here. Again, Madam Chair, Ranking Member, and also to all the representatives of the House Family, Children, and Senior Committee. My name is Dwayne Haywood, as you rightfully said, of the Economic Stability Administration for the Department of Health and Human Services. And then I have my deputy, or the Deputy Director, Amy Hutton. And so.
Press the button, the little red button.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went through all that and you didn't hear? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So again, it is a pleasure to be here, of course, certainly to talk about the COVID-19 benefit ending and the impact that it will have on our families. And we certainly understand that, certainly a crisis with the ending of the food benefits. What we understand is that certainly the crisis, it exists. And of course, today we're going to present an overview of our food assistance program. We're also going to just identify some of the strategies that the department has used, certainly to communicate with our families, our individuals, and communicate with our communities, and also to communicate with our staff who have to take on those questions that will be coming into those 109 offices where we touch 83 counties. And so we will go through the process and then just kind of go and prepare for answers. Those answers that we don't have, we certainly will get them back through our legislative director, get them back to you. Again, certainly the Reverend was really, she's spot on, and certainly we want to be a partner, and we'll explore all options that we can within our structure to assist. And so with this, without further ado, I'll turn it over to Amy.
Thanks. Is it this one?
Yep.
Okay, there we go.
I'll get yours.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm hoping you can hear me okay. So we've prepared a PowerPoint, and the first few slides that we'll be reviewing are just a high-level overview of the food assistance program, just to give you some context. The food assistance provides nutrition benefits to supplement food budgets for low-income families and individuals in Michigan. It is a federal program that is administered by the state. The federal program covers 100% of the food assistance benefit that people receive, and the federal government covers 50% of our administration fees. The vast majority of the rules are set at the federal level. Once an individual in Michigan becomes eligible for food assistance, they get an EBT card, an electronic benefit transfer card. You might also hear it called interchangeably a bridge card. So that's the same thing. Go ahead. And those can be used at about 9,700 different retailers across Michigan. And this slide is going to tell you what can be used with EBT benefits and what cannot be used. So people can purchase meat, dairy, breads, snack foods, beverages, even seeds to plant their own food at home. But they can't use a bridge card to purchase alcohol like beer, wine, or any alcoholic beverage. Excuse me, I have to cough. Live animals, it can't be used to cover medication or vitamins. It can't be used to cover foods that are hot at the point of sale. So you can't go in and purchase hot food right at the grocery store with SNAP benefits. Can't use hygiene products, et cetera. Those rules are set at the federal level. State has no influence on those, okay? One of the things we want to talk to you about today is the ease of access about applying for food assistance. So an individual has a couple of ways that they can apply for food assistance. They can use a paper application that they can call the department in their community and ask that we mail an application to them and we send them a return envelope. They could go into a local office and use a paper application. Conversely, they can use our MyBridges portal, which is an electronic website. It's a portal where people can apply for public assistance benefits. It also has community information available on the website. So a person can go to MyBridges and make their application for food assistance and any other public assistance benefit that they choose to apply for. What's really important to understand is we have a network of community resource partners, about 1,300, well, actually just under 1,400 statewide, that have committed to either allowing individuals to use their computers or tablets to make an application on MyBridges, or they've committed to be navigation partners. And those partners actually help the person through the process of applying, helping connect them to resources in their community. In calendar year 22, we had about 42,000 applications that were submitted by about 950 community partners. So what happens once the department receives an application? I think you can go to the next one. So the first thing we look at is how quickly do we need to determine the individual's benefits. If somebody is destitute, meaning they have 150 or less in earned income, or their shelter expenses exceed their monthly earned income, we have something called expedited food assistance, meaning we give them benefits, we determine their benefits, and if they're eligible, we get those benefits to them within 7 days. If they don't fall in that really critical criteria, we have a 30-day standard of promptness. Of course, we strive very hard to get those out the door as quickly as possible, understanding the impact that this eligibility has on a family or an individual. But we do have a 30-day process. We'll stay there for just a minute. Once the department receives the application and we make that determination about how quickly we need to determine benefits, an eligibility worker, you might hear them called caseworkers or specialists, it's kind of all interchangeable. They receive the application, they review it, and they do an interview with the client to understand the family dynamics. Who's in the household? That's the first thing we need to understand. How many people are in our food assistance group? And typically, and there's a few odd exceptions, but typically that is anybody that lives in a house together and they purchase and prepare their food together. That's our food assistance group. Once the caseworker has determined that, then we do a look at what type of income does this group have? Do all the people in this group have? It could be earned income from a job or self-employment income. It could be unearned income,
like Social Security benefits, maybe unemployment benefits, or veterans benefits. So we have to understand, and an individual has to validate for us by providing proof of what their income is. Then we also look at their assets. Many of you may know that our asset limit is currently at $15,000, and we allow a client to attest, unless it's questionable, as to their asset limit. And then the third thing that we really look at are their household expenses. So, and we have a limited bucket that we can look at, and I've listed them here. It's what is their shelter expense, their mortgage, or their rent, their heat and utility expenses, and we look to see if they have dependent care expenses outside of the group, or maybe they pay child support outside of the group. And in some situations, we can even look at their medical expenses, and we can count that against their income to determine their monthly benefit amount. And I know that's a really high level, and we could go way down. I might not be able to go way down in the weeds, but we can get you additional answers if you want more details down in the weeds. But I want to turn it over to Director Haywood to talk about some statistics.
Thank you, Amy. And so, all what Amy said as far as the program eligibility, so I think it's important that we kind of look at the data that we face. Pre-COVID 2019, the department was actually managing over 600,000 cases, servicing about a little over 1 million recipients. And then we go through the 35 months and up to where we are today. The department is currently managing over 730,000 with about 1.3 recipients. And so that's a 20% increase. And so indicating what the good Reverend said for Brightmoor is that there is food insecurity out there. There is a need for some additional resources. And so just wanted to point that out, the data, because we also look at our customers, but then we also have to look at the data and what we have here. So again, a 20% increase. At any given day, in a 7-day period, a family is having a difficult time either putting food on the table or unable to put food on. So at any given time, that 7-day period, that's something that we look at. 12% of our Michiganians have food insecurity, are suffering through. And that certainly is across the country. If you guys saw the NBC nightly news, they basically talked through that in the food insecurity. So again, a very important stat is to look at those numbers and actually recognize where they actually impact the families. So, and then we talked about impact, but let me just go back and make sure we understand again the federal appropriations actually ended the additional benefits, and that was passed by Congress, signed by the president. And certainly, that's going to be an impact. It's going to take the food SNAP benefits back to the pre-COVID benefits. Families who were at the max will now go back to their regular benefit package. Those who were at the max who received an additional $95, that $95 will come off. And so again, very important to understand that as a result of these benefits, tomorrow, March, is when it actually kicks in, that we'll start going back to the pre-pandemic benefits. We're in the last week where the actual enhanced benefits took place. And so, again, when we talk about the benefits, I do want to I'll give you a couple of examples, as we all hear those examples, and certainly we get them as a department from the UP, the Upper Northern, all the way down through the state. And so just wanted to just kind of highlight some of the individuals. George is a retired individual who's receiving $14.83 in his Social Security. He pays $50 towards his medical, which qualifies him for a standard deduction of $165. He his rent is $500, and that includes utilities. And so with the enhanced benefits, he receives $281. When it resets, he will receive just over $100. So a benefit, definitely a reduction there. And so let me just then turn to a family of 4, a mother who works, earns $20 an hour. She works between 34 and 36 hours, bringing home about $680 a week. She pays $800 in her rent, and that includes utilities. her benefits, her enhanced benefits, her COVID enhanced benefits, $939. When it resets, starting tomorrow, she will be down to just over $400. So again, yeah, a real impact, and it impacts people in our customers. And then we look at, when we talk about individual impact, we also need to talk about the communities. As the Brightmore indicated, the community impact. For every dollar that's invested with the food assistance, there's $1.79 of economic impact activities. And so when you talk about that economic activities, you're talking about it could negatively impact, negatively impact the community. And so we talk about the grocers, we talk about the employment, we talk about, because with the enhanced benefits, you have activities in the community, and certainly that is a key point of where we have the employment, where we actually address the community partners. And so very important to understand the impact on the community as a whole. Now I'll turn it back over to Amy.
So MDHHS recognizes these federal changes are going to be very disruptive to families, and we're proactively partnering with community partners to assist residents to meet their needs. Across the PowerPoint, here are the different ways the places we're partnering, and the different ways we're sharing with our clients to make sure they're aware of resources in their community, including ensuring 211 has the most up-to-date information about local resources to help clients manage their budget. We have communicated with food banks. My Bridges has been updated to provide information to ensure that clients can access information about their communities. I know I heard a question, I couldn't see who asked it, about Double Up Food Bucks. We are making sure residents understand the use of Double Up Food Bucks, which at a high level is used at EBT cards, used at a farmer's market, up to $10 a day. For fruits and vegetables, the farmer's market will match that expenditure. So it essentially doubles the $10 every day that it's used at a farmer's market by a family. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think that's a crucial step that people can take to actually maximize their food benefit. And then we've been encouraging clients to apply for free and reduced lunch if they have students in school, so that they can have breakfast and lunch free at the school district. And I know that that is also part of the governor's executive recommendation for fiscal year '24, that it's a universal free and reduced lunch that would really significantly impact families. And then finally, we're working to connect people with young children to women, infants, and children. You might have heard it called WIC, to make sure they can maximize those benefits as well. Go ahead. And then how are we communicating this change with our clients? A couple of things. I want to, besides what's on this PowerPoint here, I kind of want to put it in context for you. An individual's regular food assistance benefits, when they're approved, when there's any change throughout the year, and when they are redetermined annually for their new benefit or continuing benefit, they receive a notice about that, an individual notice about their benefit. Those benefits are placed on their EBT or bridge card towards the first of the month, but always on a very specific day. When the federal emergency allotment was allowed, it was part of a policy exception at the Food and Nutritious Services level, and that provision allowed us to do mass notifications to individuals. So when we started issuing emergency allotment, we did that through mass communication. Whether it was social media or press releases, that's how we notified people that those benefits were going to be added to their bridge card. It was always separate from their food assistance amount, and it was always done at a different time than their food assistance amount, much later in the month. Just wanted you to have the full context. We're trying various strategies to make sure individuals know this is ending. Our caseworkers in local offices have been provided with information about how to talk to this with clients to make sure that they're explaining that it's ending and what people can do to maximize food benefits or find additional resources. Our incoming phone lines at the department have a message that plays telling individuals about the emergency allotment being ended by the federal government. We have a My Bridges announcement on the landing page, so it's something people, when they go right to My Bridges, can see immediately. We have flyers for local offices to give out and for community partners to give out. We had a text messaging campaign. Our community partners have a toolkit they can access to have information to be able to speak to this with our clients efficiently. We have also a social media campaign and then a press release. So we felt that that is a very robust mass communication methodology for notifying individuals about the federal ending of the emergency allotment. I want to turn it back over to Mr. Haywood for any final closing remarks.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it. And so Amy really kind of crystallized the program and what we have done as a department, what we will continue to do. As we indicated earlier, we're committed to working with our families across our 109 offices, touching the 83 counties. We certainly know with the Q&A for our staff, we want to make sure that they understand the impact and how they can actually assist customers, because as we indicated, if you don't have that communication, modes of communication, you certainly can visit our offices. We have those offices open and ready to go with those questions. And so we just, again, wanted to just come before you and this body and just certainly outline some of the things that we're doing, and also just to kind of give you the overview of the SNAP program. So at this time, we will open it up for questions, and again, if we're unable to answer the questions, we'll take them down and send it to our legislative director, Sade Burton. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So we have a few questions. Folks have been raising their hands, of course, but I just want to kick it off. So one of the things that I noticed when I listened to your presentation, because it was like ingrained in my mind when I first read the press release, and then when I went on to the website, as it related to your example for George, and how it said that he received $281, but in the press release and online on your website, it says $71 would be his new benefit, and this presentation has 112. And when we're talking about every dollar counts, I just want to know what the right number is, now that I've seen two different ones.
Right. That right number is probably going to be over 100, because there was a 12% increase of cost of living, so that has to be adjusted towards it. So you might have two numbers, but we'll double check. But that should be the correct number. And let me so just kind of set that. A lot of the families will have different numbers, as Amy indicated, because of the assets, the income. So a family of four may be at a level of $500, and then they were moved to the max. Likewise, if they have zero income, they might be at a different level, maybe at 600, and then we take them to the max. So every family, every circumstances, whatever that family is probably going to be a little different. But to answer your question directly, that probably was that increase, that cost of living increase, that brought George to that level.
I was just asked you to fix that on the website. People are going to be looking at it, right? That was one of the things that jumped out to me. I have a few more questions, but I'm going to go ahead and allow my colleague. So my first colleague would be Representative Glanville. She was the first hand I saw.
Oh, the light didn't come on. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll try to be quick. I have a couple of questions myself. First of all, I was wondering, do you know what percentage of folks will be losing benefits? And then do people have to reapply, or they will just be notified automatically that their benefits have been changed? Or how's that look to a receiver?
So, two things. Every food assistance case received some sort of emergency allotment, so all will see that emergency allotment go away. But it doesn't mean that their case closes. They don't have to do anything else. They'll continue to receive their regular food assistance amount.
Okay.
Did I answer your
Yep,
question?
that helps. And then kind of a follow-up to that is, you mentioned when you were talking about applying for food assistance that there are folks are there navigators that help people to apply? Are those the same navigators that help folks with their Medicaid benefits? Would that be the same program?
It can be, there can
Okay.
be overlap, but it's not necessarily the exact same population.
Okay, but the navigators are the same people.
It can be.
Oh, okay. So then related to that, I'm, really concerned that we have a large number of people seeing a change in their benefits tomorrow, and a month from now, they're going to get kicked again while they're down when Medicaid, there's some changes to Medicaid, is that correct? There's some Medicaid changes coming, is it in April, is that? Yeah, the redeterminations, sorry.
If you could spend maybe 45 seconds explaining the redetermination, because I spent some time with you all's colleague to understand that. It's not that everybody's going to get kicked off and then we redetermine and you don't have benefits while we redetermine, So if you could just quickly kind of explain that redetermination, because that causes a lot of concern for us as well.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll start, and then if I leave anything off, 45 minutes for Amy. So the premise is the public health emergency will end, and therefore, with the signing of that appropriation, it basically decoupled and ended the actual redetermination of the medical assistance. And so when that actually happens, we are still working with our BP HASA and all of our partners to ensure that that a family that may come off the rolls will have opportunity through our websites to apply for the marketplace and other entities. And so basically what's going to happen is that those who were, as a result of the public health, they were actually, we're not allowed to close any cases, and medical benefits flow to all of our residents. Now, as we reset, we have to then look at, and these are where the REDATs come in, we have to look at every case now. We have to look at the cases and basically determine if the regular set of numbers and the income fits within the criteria, they continue with the benefits. If they don't, then they will actually be transitioned off of the medical assistant program. But again, we have a lot additional resources that we're going to be deploying to get them, our customers or our citizens, to try to get them to do an off-ramp to where they can actually have medical benefits. Now, and we're doing a mass, and you probably heard the mass media, we're gonna continue with the mass media. Now, the one thing that I will caution everyone, that if for some reason a person does not get the notification and their case closed, they can reapply. So that's something that is going to be available. So
I just want to add one small detail to this, is that individuals who were not renewed during the pandemic, let's say their renewal date is June, and in June of 21 they were not renewed because we had the pause on renewals. Those individuals would be picked up in June of 23, okay? Only people who were due for June reviews. So we're not redetermining everybody in June, just 1/12 essentially of the population. And those renewal forms will go out to individuals at the very beginning of May, giving them that full month to get those into us so that in the month of June, the eligibility specialists can make the determination. Just wanted to put a real fine point on who might be impacted in June.
So thank you so much. And I want to flag this for our group here because what I see is potentially an impending, crisis. I mean, we're already in a crisis, and it's only going to get worse here in the next month or two as folks lose these SNAP benefits. And then I'm assuming some of those same people are going to see changes in their Medicaid benefits as well. And so I have some real serious concerns what we can do at the state level to help bridge that gap and to continue supporting those folks. So just wanted to flag it for my colleagues here. Thank you so much.
Representative Coffey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here to present. I'll echo my colleague, Rep. Glanville's concern about the crisis that will be exacerbated. And I wanted to sort of a couple pieces. One, I appreciated the Reverend presenting on Brightmoor. I want to give some perspective from statewide. I'm in northern Michigan. One of the counties in my district is Leelanau County, which is one of the highest income counties in the state. However, a little known fact is that 43% of our households in Leelanau County are called ALIS, so asset limited working or at or below the poverty level, 43%. And so I'm deeply concerned about the impact for Northern Michigan families as well as families in the UP and across our state. And what I think it's a 1-2-3 punch. It's the Medicaid redetermination with 400,000 people potentially impacted and possibly losing their care. The SNAP benefits, I'm hearing from my food pantries, they're very concerned about how they're going to then take the flood of folks who will then be coming to them. And then Medicaid reimbursement, I've been hearing since day one of my first term, January 11th, from multiple small providers who receive Medicaid reimbursement for providing mental health services to Medicaid families and children who have seen a 25 to 30% unannounced drop in reimbursement and are not in a position to continue to provide those services. So it's weighing heavily on me as I think about my constituents and across the state. And so my question is, and maybe this is for Madam Chair, but what might it look like for us looking at the budget for the state of Michigan to try to address some of these shortfalls by federal action around SNAP and Medicaid? Do we have a dollar figure for what it might cost us even for a single year as a state to make that up and try to keep these families from being hit 3 different directions?
Can I have 1 second to consult?
Sure, it's a hard question, but it's one that's keeping me up at night.
Okay, so I'm going to do the SNAP, and so the quick number is 134 million a month. That's the impact for Michigan.
We don't have the Medicaid, I'm sorry.
Sorry, can you just say, is that for 1 year or
Yes.
overall?
I mean, for 134 a month for each year, each month.
That's what it costs to run the program.
Right. That's the enhanced benefits we're talking about, the LUPs. Is that what the question you asked?
Okay.
So that's for SNAP, and so that's without touching the other 2 pieces that I talked about with Medicaid and
Correct.
mental health. Thank you for that figure.
Representative Fox.
Yeah, just a very quick question, and thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering if you could just give me an explanation on page 9 or slide 9. Every dollar in food assistance benefits generates $1.79 in economic activity. Just, flesh that out for me a little bit. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure, so we rely on the information provided by FNS, the Food Nutrition Services, to analyze the economic impact. So I don't have details specific for Michigan, but I can take it back and we can see if we can get you the methodology used. Would that, okay.
All right, well, we have reached our time here today. So I just thank you all. We know how to find you. We'll be reaching out to you with a bunch of follow-up questions. Reverend Rise Woodward, thank you. I'm sorry, you even have some follow-up questions, but we're gonna go ahead and dismiss everyone because it's a long day. We have a long day today, as we do on every Tuesday. But again, thank you for being and presenting.
Appreciate it.
All right, and with that, seeing no further business, the Families, Children's, and Senior Committee is now adjourned.